Hello, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making buttery shortbread cookies. Now I would call these Christmas cookies, and we're certainly going to make them look festive, and I'll show you how I'll do that at the end of the video. But I make these cookies all year long. They're buttery and flaky and delicious, and they are so easy to make. One of my favorite things about these cookies is that they don't use eggs and there is no liquid, so they have a really long shelf life. And I will say that the longer they sit, the better they get. They're delicious the minute you pull them out of the oven, but you'll be shocked if they last a few days. The texture continues to get lighter and flakier, and oh, that buttery goodness. Now they only take a few ingredients, 4 to be exact. You've got your all-purpose flour, your salted butter, your confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar, and cornstarch. Now there is flavoring in this. I'm adding vanilla, or if you'd like to use almond extract, that's delicious as well. But I am going to keep it to our true South tradition and make them with pecans and vanilla. I'm starting with my butter. I've got 2 sticks. Now hang on to your butter wrapping because we're going to use that to prepare our baking sheet in a minute. I'm using salted butter because it saves me a step. I don't have to add salt. I think the salt in the butter adds the perfect flavoring. But if you're going to use unsalted butter, then I would say add up to a teaspoon of salt. Now, I am going to use my stand mixer today, but I have made these by hand many times, or your handheld mixer. Don't feel like you've got to have a stand mixer to make these cookies, because you don't. And I'm using my paddle attachment. What I'm going to do is cream this butter. I'm going to put my mixer on medium speed and let it mix for about 2 minutes, just until that butter is nice and creamy and smooth. Now comes my sugar. This is 2/3 of a cup of powdered sugar, and that's going right in. If you would like just a little less sweetness in your cookie, then add 1/2 cup, and that's just fine. I'm going to mix this again at medium speed until the sugar and butter is all blended together. That looks just right. Now it's time for the cornstarch, and I'm adding, oh, that's not going to fit. I'm adding 1/2 cup of cornstarch. The cornstarch really helps these cookies to have that flaky texture. You cannot achieve that with only flour. These are just flaky and buttery, and honestly, I love the taste, but the texture is my favorite part of these cookies. And I made a mess, of course I always do. That is going right in. And next, I'm adding my all-purpose flour. I'm not going to worry about mixing this all together until I've added these dry ingredients. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour goes in. The last ingredient is a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, I'm going to mix this at medium speed just until it all comes together. This looks great. Now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of very finely chipped pecans. I get these from Shoot Pecan Company, and these are the perfect size. And this looks good. If you'd like to make your dough ahead of time, this is perfect for wrapping up and putting in the refrigerator. But the thing that I love about this particular recipe is that it needs no refrigeration prior to making them. So we're going to make some right now. I've got 2 pieces of parchment paper, and I'm going to use this one first, and I'm going to set this one aside. And let me go ahead and get this cookie dough right in the middle. Now, I'm going to take my next piece of parchment paper, and I'm just going to flatten this out. Next, I've got my rolling pin, and I'm going to roll this dough out to about 1/4 of an inch thick. I think this looks great. Don't worry about it being perfectly round. I'll show you how we're going to work with that as we go. Now hang on to this extra piece of parchment paper. We're going to use this again. Now I have a few different cookie cutters. I've got just these two right here. I think that this, whatever this is the perfect size for these cookies. And I've just got a round one and a scalloped edge. Now for the baking sheet. Now I've already buttered my parchment paper, and I used those butter wraps that I saved. And I'm going to go ahead and start lifting these up and putting them on my cookie sheet. You can actually place these cookies really close together because there's no leavening in them. We used all-purpose flour. We didn't use any baking soda or baking powder, so they're going to stay fairly true to size. Last cookie from that batch. Now, we're not wasting any of this. This is all going back together in a nice little ball. Look how much I have left over. And there goes my parchment paper again. And I'm just gonna push this down just a little bit and then roll to about 1/4 of an inch once again. And voila. There we go. Hang on. Don't get rid of the parchment paper until the very, very end. My cookie sheet is looking pretty full. Now these are ready to go into the oven. Now I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and these are going to cook anywhere from about 10 to, let's say, 13 minutes. We want them to be just a nice light golden brown. Just check the cookies and they're looking good. We've just got a few more minutes. And before I bring those out of the oven, I want to show you just some toppings that I've got that we're going to put together. I've got some sprinkles. I've got some red and green for Christmas. I have some more of those chipped shoot pecans. I've got some colorful sprinkles. My grandchildren love these. Their mother, Christina, and her grandmother make Christmas cookies every year, and they always use these sprinkles. So I know they'll be looking for those when they come. Now, I've also got just some powdered sugar, and I'm going to make a little bit of icing for our cookies so that our sprinkles and pecans will stick. I've got 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and I'm going to add just a scant, and I do mean a scant, just basically 2 drops at the most of vanilla. That looks good. I should have put that in a spoon just so I wouldn't have gotten too much, but I'm a risk taker. What can I say? Now I'm adding a little bit of water. And the reason why I'm adding water to this versus heavy cream is because I want these cookies to have a long shelf life. I'm going to be bringing some to my mother, and I'm also going to be mailing a few of them. So the water is going to keep a lot longer than heavy cream would. And I'm going to add, let's start with a teaspoon. Just going to stir it together. And this looks perfect. If it gets a little hard, then add a couple of drops of water. Or if you like it a little thicker, add a little bit more powdered sugar. This is just a really easy thing to make. These have cooled about as long as I can stand it. And I mean that literally. I just want to show you how perfect these cookies are. Y'all, they're so easy to make. Like I said, why would you buy shortbread cookies when you can make the best you'll ever have? Yum! Okay, now let's go ahead and do this one. And for Annabelle and Frank's sake, I'm going to put a little bit of these sprinkles. And voila, there you go. The time has arrived to finally package these up. And y'all, I've already had a taste. Those are the lightest, crispiest, buttery cookie that you can ever make. They are out of this world good. Now I'm going to push this aside and I'm going to show you what I'm doing next. I've got one of those cookie tins, just easy peasy. You can pick them up at the dollar store. And I've got a piece of tissue paper. And you know how when you buy those little tins of sugar cookies and they're all divided, just get a few cupcake holders. I'm going to fill each one and put them in, and there you go. And you have your very own cookie tin. I know exactly who I'm giving these to, and I know they're going to be elated. Thanks so much for watching this video. You are a blessing to me. If you haven't already, go to my Kathy Southern Kitchen page on YouTube or Facebook. Press that like or subscribe button and you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. Well, I'm going to finish packaging these up, save a few back for my husband and I. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'll see you next time.